So Secret of the Mimic's been out for a few weeks now, and, there's a lot of differing opinions. I personally really liked the game, thought it was a lot better than Security Breach, but, I mean, that's not saying a lot.
Give me in! Friday, bitch!
However, the game has also brought up a myriad of questions that still need answering. In this video, I would like to address the massive elephant in the room regarding this game, the secret ending where the Mimic turns back into a child. Specifically, a child who has the same name, we believe, as the crying child from FNAF 4. Does that make him a robot kid? We're going to talk about that today, ladies and gentlemen. So first we need to decide what ending is canon before we move forward. Now, a lot of people are going to say that the parachute ending, where the facility burns down and Arnold dies, is the canon ending, but I don't think it is. I personally think that the canon ending is the one where the Mimic turns back into a child, for several reasons. The main arguments people have for the parachute ending being canon is that the Mimic is still broken by the time of Security Breach and Ruin. However, I don't think that means he couldn't have been fixed before and then broken again by someone. And after all, if he is the crying child, then that someone would presumably be William Afton. Think about it. The Mimic got this way by replicating behaviors that it saw and experienced personally. So, if the Mimic is the crying child, what behaviors would it have learned when it was with William? Well, it would have learned child abuse, bullying, potentially child murder, biting people's heads off, among other horrific things. So, after thine chomp of 80th of the 3rd, the crying child could have potentially been broken again, and replicated all the behaviors that it learned as the crying child that I just listed beforehand, and that could be why it's locked up again. But let's also take a minute to think about what it was used to lock it up. The Nexus computer, which, yes, in Security Breach Ruin, we see is not the same as it is in Secret of the Mimic. It is controlled by Fiona, the M1 program in Secret of the Mimic, and then suddenly it's a new Nexus system. And Gregory says it's been trapped down there for a very long time, so presumably he didn't make this system. And presumably Vanessa didn't, so who would have made it in this theory of mine? I think it's our favourite purple murderer, William Afton. After all, it's a robot, so he probably doesn't care about it that much and would be perfectly fine just locking it up and forgetting about it. It just murders people randomly, which, William's never been too concerned about human life, but that might raise a few eyebrows if his child just kinda rose from the dead as a robot with his voice and just started chomping down on people. Also, he would definitely have access to the mech's computer in this ending if he was able to go into the facility after the Mimic was fixed and grab it. Presumably he'd be able to take the M1 computer, or Fiona, as well. And something else that's food for thought. Think about how Nexus looks in Ruin. With the Vanny mask on, it is emitting a purple light, and the sprite who's trying to kill us all this time is a Chad-looking purple bunny. I don't know about you, but I can't really name anyone else in this franchise who has quite the same affiliations with the color purple and bunnies. If that ending was canon, that William went back to the facility, took the Mimic, took Fiona, experimented on both of them, the Mimic broke again due to all the abuse that it was exposed to, went rampant, and William locked it up using the Nexus system and made his own little sprite for it, which was a purple bunny. I also think the crying child being the Mimic could also potentially explain something that people are still a bit divided on in the Midnight Motorist game, which is, where did the runaway child go? He says that place, like he knows where it is. However, if this ending is to be believed canon, that would mean that the facility, the Murray's Costume Manor, is still up. It's not been destroyed yet, and so maybe the crying child Mimic goes back to that familiar setting to escape the abuse. After all, that's where his proper dad worked, the one who made him, and it's where he spent most of his time as the broken Mimic, so he'd definitely be familiar with the place, feel comfortable there, and would definitely be where he'd go to escape his tormentors. Which is also something else I'd like to talk about. In the ending, the facility is still up, whereas in the parachute.exe ending, it's been burned down. Which is another reason why I don't think that ending is actually canon, because they make it clear that William and Henry didn't come up with most of the character designs. Like we see, they stole all of Edwin's work. They stole Monty, they stole Foxy, they stole Deadeye Roxy, they stole Chica. They even stole Jackie, who the last time we see that costume looks very similar to the puppet, so that probably explains where they got the design for the marionette from. Oh, and also Mr. Helpful and Mrs. Helpful. The point I'm trying to make here is that if the facility was completely burned down, then they wouldn't have been able to recover any of the animatronics or costumes or designs that were in Murray's Costume Manor, as they would have also presumably burned to the ground. So, how could they steal all those characters if there was no records of them existing if the only place they did exist was destroyed? Unless the ending where it is destroyed isn't the canon one and it was just destroyed later on in some event we don't see. Which again, for Steel would not be the first time this has happened. With Security Breach, one of the endings, or actually two of them, involve the Pizzaplex being burned down and destroyed and left in ruin, like how it would be in the DLC. But we know for a fact that the Princess Quest ending is the canon one, due to Security Breach heavily implying it, but in that ending, the Pizzaplex is still up and running, so it just got destroyed in an unforeseen event. My point is that this wouldn't be the first time that Steelwool has done something like this, where they have an ending where something is destroyed and we see it destroyed later on, and then go, no, that ending's not canon, it just got destroyed later. So, is that it? The Crying Child's the Mimic, Fiona's Nexus who got corrupted by William Afton, and we're all hunky-dory and good here, right? No, as I have another theory that I would like to propose right now, regarding M1/Fiona. Something else I'd also like to touch on in this video is the similarities I keep seeing between the two Mimic programs and Psychic Friend Fredbear in FNAF 4, or as I like to call him, Friendbear. Who am I kidding? That's never going to catch on. Now, I immediately noticed the similarities between Friendbear and the Mimic. They were both made by a Fazbear employee, they both seemingly mimic their creator's voice, they both seemingly were made to entertain said creator's child while they're at work, and said child dies in a tragic accident. Also, said child has a favourite toy, which is a plushie of a specific brightly coloured animal. Also, both children are named David. Need I say more? There was so many similarities that I was so sure for so long that they were actually the same character, and that the books were trying to tell us that that's who Friendbear was. Now, do I still think this? Kinda. Specifically, I think that if we are to go with the interpretation that the fixing the Mimic ending is canon, that it is possible that M1 is actually Psychic Friend Fredbear, as it would explain quite a few odd behaviours that never really got cleared up. I mean, we know Friendbear was a plushie, right? We see it in Sister Location, but everyone keeps saying that it was Afton talking to him directly the entire time, but we know that's not the case because everyone keeps saying that this is a walkie-talkie, but it's not. It's a notch to switch the cameras in the room. We know William is the Midnight Motorist mustard man, so that could explain why his dialogue is yellow, as before we believed it could be William Afton. However, in this interpretation, it could also mean that Friendbear or M1 was actually mimicking his voice. This could explain the different text colours, as he was mimicking William's voice and then maybe leaned into something more genuine, more like his own voice in the Crying Child's final moments. So that could explain the slightly different shade of yellow used for the last line, "I will put you back together," which also very much is in character for M1, as her whole thing is trying to fix the Mimic in Secret of the Mimic. So now that he's broken again, this now reignites that same purpose from all those years ago, and she needs to fix him again, put him back together. But what do you think? Do you think I am stupid and wrong? Do you think I am smart and correct? Are you Scott Cawthon? Genuinely though, please do leave any theories you have in the comments or issues you have with my theory. So, thank you for watching.